And on November 16, I got a phone call that he had taken his life and
My two girls are coming back.
So he
They
had
went to the
been
bathroom.
fighting with anxiety and depression for quite a long time. And then just recently did he go to the doctor to have a consult for something that was helpful to him. And he had recommended to see a counselor, a therapist, and medication. And so he was on his second week of taking medication. He was always highly anxious. He had hip pain. His depression is he started gaining weight. He wasn't active anymore. And then with this looming hip problem, it was about 6 months before we could see a specialist. And by the time we saw the specialist said, actually, it's Parkinson's disease, which happens when you're born. It's just the bone is malformed. And he said, you will need a hip replacement probably before you're 40, but your hip is not going to snap. Nothing dire like that. In fact, it would probably help you to lose some weight to get off that hip. But it was living with that, I think, for so long had already started his journey on in depression. And then it kind of came in waves, just ups and downs, you know. We would be totally normal, everything is fine, and then, you know, he wouldn't make his mark for his job, or, you know, he would have some criticism from his boss, and then it would just weigh so heavily on him. So he fought with that for a long time. This is fantastic. I feel better than I felt in such a long time. So at the beginning of that week, he was feeling really sick anyway. Had a little bit of a fever, but he was afraid to take any sort of over-the-counter cold medicine because he didn't want it to counteract with the medication that he was taking. And so it was actually Thursday morning, before I was getting ready to leave for work, he was trying to get ready for his day, and he was frantic, and he was like, honey, the medication's not working, I don't know what's going on, I was like, tell me what's happening, what are you feeling? And he said, I just feel hopeless, like there's just nothing I can do that will be good enough. And I was like, babe, you need to go and call your doctor and let him know what you're feeling, because you're sick as well. So it's probably the combination of that, and just find out if he can prescribe you something so that you can take something to get out of this cold. And that was the last conversation we had. The girls, or the kids and I had booked just a little weekend trip up to Indiana to visit our family. And he couldn't attend because he had responsibilities at church. But he dropped us off at the airport Friday morning, and it was just like normal, like nothing out of the ordinary, and kissed us goodbye. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know the gravity of it until now, because I don't have those same feelings. I don't experience stress the same way. I've had high stress positions before, and I have had feelings of that could be like depression, but not anything near what he had to have been feeling. Because I always felt like, you know, you just need to have strength. You know, we can overcome this. You know, you can. We need to strengthen our prayer life more. We need to be more involved in church. We need to focus on others. So if you focus on others, then you won't be focused on your own internal pain. And that's what I thought. So that was my advice to him, is as he is suffering through this, I never had thought to, you know, suggest maybe he get a counselor or a therapist, or, you know, or go into take medication, because I just thought, oh, you know, like, okay, yeah, you're stressed out about work. Well, who's not stressed out about work, you know? And We were young with 2 kids, you know, and that's stressful as well. And so I did not stop to find out what exactly it is with anxiety and depression. Just very recently, I had read something where this person was talking about her feelings with depression. And she said, it's that feeling before you get out of bed, where you're just laying there, thinking about your day, and all you can think about is how you're going to fail. Before you can even get out of bed, who you're going to fail, what job you're going to fail at, what family member you're going to let down, all of the things that you're going to do that day that won't matter to anybody. And I was reading, she said the hardest part was just getting out of bed. And it was like if I could just be at peace one time, if I could just sleep longer, and then it wouldn't matter. You know, it was that constant searching for just peace. And when I read that, I thought, oh my goodness, that was him. Every day we were together for 13 years, and every morning. And I knew a little bit of that because, you know, he would wake up pacing. You know, he was already trying to figure out what his day looked like, and recently becoming pastor, you know, that's a lot of responsibility, and he wanted to do so well at his job and in his ministry. And so he took on, you know, other people's pain, as you do, you know, as a pastor. And it didn't matter how much I encouraged him. He was constantly in that doubt, constantly anxious about what he said that was helpful or if it was wrong, or, I mean, it didn't matter how many people gave him the assurance that what he was doing was right. Sometimes he would take it and feel up, but most times he would say, oh, I need to do better, I need to do better. There weren't ever any signs or any conversations or any mention of him thinking about taking his life. That was never an option. In fact, having moved down to Florida 3 years ago, we just had come home from the beach the weekend before, and our goal, because we lived in Indiana for so long, we wanted to make up for all the beach time. So our goal was every month we wanted to go to the beach twice a month and soak in as much beach time as possible. But we were coming home from the beach, and the kids were sleeping in the back, and we were just talking about how blessed we were. I mean, we would never take anything back of all of the experiences and the journey that God has brought us through, all of the struggles with him in different jobs and losing jobs and gaining jobs. All of that experience had given him the tools he needed to be successful as a pastor now. There was not any sort of trigger to say, okay, this is bad, we need to do something about it. Not until just recently. And then, if I had known, I guess, that when somebody is put on medication, they need to be strictly observed for 4 to 6 weeks. I just found out about that afterwards, or that the medication that he was put on, one of the main side effects of that is suicidal thoughts and tendencies and premature death. And all of these stories are coming to light afterwards, because nobody wants to talk about mental health. Nobody wants to talk about taking their lives. It's so taboo. And so after somebody does it, then all of these people come out and go, oh my goodness, me too. You know, my wife tried to take her life. My father tried to take his life. Oh, he was on that medication? Oh, well, yeah. Because there are these cases where it talks about that. I'm like, why don't we know? Like, why is that not something that is talked about and spread so that we can know what to be looking for? And then, you know, maybe if I had known, I could have had not gone to Indiana, obviously, just stayed home, or had a friend make sure to be there, you know, with him and check up on him constantly, or, you know, something. But, yeah, that is different from all of the years of him trying to battle through anxiety and depression. It was just being on this medication. I think that coupled with his low immune system, and it just messed with his mind. And, we weren't home, so his normal support system, where if he was having thoughts like that, the whole family would be home. His kids would be there. I would be there. But it was just the circumstances, just how it just so happened to fall. I am still trying to figure out what life is now. You obviously don't ever go into it planning or thinking this could ever happen. And, we just had our last child 6 months ago. So he's a newborn. And I just keep thinking about my kids and what's going to happen for them. My oldest is 12, and so having a kind of trauma like this, and then getting ready to go into her teenage years, and she and her daddy were best friends. Our relationship was a little rough, is a little rough, and daddy was always a mediator. He would always be able to step in and diffuse the situation and reset, talk us both down, because we're very much the same, so we butt heads a lot. But it's tough, we don't have that anymore. And my middle one she's understanding more. When it first happened, she wasn't quite sure what was going on. And she's never had a death of anything. We don't really have pets. So, no grandparents, no aunts and uncles, nobody really. And so this is her very first experience with death and trying to figure out what that is in the mind of a 6-year-old. Where, and she just talks about it openly. My daddy passed away. She carries his picture around a lot. She'll say, I miss daddy. It's not anything yet, but my fear is that when she gets older, that she'll feel that there's a void, a hole, and she won't know what to do with it. And just trying to be a mom and dad, and figuring out what that is pretty overwhelming. I think my message is definitely to family members of people who are suffering with anxiety and depression. And that message is that we don't have to have the answers. We don't have to fix it. What we need to do is be able to create a safe environment where they're able to talk about their families. And it is scary if they are in a place where they talk about harming themselves or taking their lives. That's a scary thing to hear. But we need to be able to create an environment where that can be discussed so that we can do something about it. They can find the help that they need to get them out of that place. But instead of sweeping it under the rug or saying, you're fine, you're going to be fine, we need to pray more. We don't have a strong enough prayer life. Or especially to the Christian community, it's always, for me, it's like you just don't have enough faith. You read about it in the Bible, like all of these people who went through all of these things, and it's like faith of a mustard seed. That's all you have to have. So how could you possibly be worried about something? that means you don't have enough faith that God's going to provide for you. And then comes the guilt. And so it's like, we need to be able to come away from the shaming and go to the supporting. Just like anybody who has cancer. We don't go to somebody who has cancer and say, you need to pray more. You just need to have more faith. No, we bring them to an oncologist so that they can get whatever treatment it is. We don't shame chemotherapy. It's just a natural treatment. It's what happens. So I would like to be able to bring it to light, which I know now I'm seeing that a lot of people are able to come to it and talk, and there are many pastors and therapists who have reached out to me and said it is becoming less taboo, but not to the extent where it needs to be, because there aren't enough people looking for help, and there aren't enough people willing to talk about it because they don't want their family to think they're crazy or to think they're weak or whatever the preconceived notion is. But we have to call it for what it is. It is a disease, and it is something that is attacking the person, and because we don't have it and don't understand it, doesn't mean we get to trivialize it. Prayer is so powerful, but it is just like having cancer, where you can pray through it to get the strength to go through that journey. But as you are going through that journey, continue to seek the people who are helping to heal you. Continue to seek your therapist. Continue to seek your doctor. And if you feel like you're having ups and downs, reach back out to your doctor, bother them, and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. Is this normal? Is this okay? Don't be afraid that you have to sit back and then try and cope with it on your own. Like, you've got to be able to talk about it, and you have to be able to just persevere through the right channels. Being able to make your weekly appointments, even when you don't want to, or be able to take that medication at the time you're supposed to, even if you don't think it's going to help. Because it can make a world of difference later on. You just might not know it right now.
Bolejack. So this is very hard. I'm so happy you're here with us. This is very tough. This only happened not even 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago. And I met Jennifer at the conference, and Jennifer said, I need a platform where I can speak about mental health. And as you know, we are the leaders at home, so what better platform than here at Deliverance 2019? So I said to her, would you like to come? And she said, yes. Will you speak about your story? She said, yes. And I said, will you bring your daughter? Yes. So we're happy you're here. You are bringing hope, and you are breaking boundaries in taboo that many people don't want to speak about. So what is if you can think back, this is only a few weeks ago that happened, what is your best memories about Bradley?
So many. If you have ever met my husband, and it was spoken at his memorials, the most memorable thing about him is his laugh. He had this laugh that would literally just come from his toes, fill his entire person, and then out into the entire room. So we would joke because you could hear my husband laughing as you approached the house. So you knew, and he loved so hard. He was just so passionate with everything that he did, and it was his entire person. So.
That's great. Lena, I know that you said you don't want to speak, but I want to hear your voice. So Tell us what you love the most about your dad.
Every time I don't feel like talking to my mom, when she's boring me out, I go to my dad, and he's my best friend. We used to joke around, and I'd pick on him, and we used to slow-mo punches every time I see him, and then he squeezes me, and it hurts. My mom never did that, so I was always looked up to my dad.
Those are hard things, and now you have a picture, so you speak with him, and you can go to your room and say, "I cannot believe this." Of course, but in heaven, that he will be there, and he will give you all those punches that you love so much. We have given you a card. Have you seen it? It's a anxiety and depression information card. It's bilingual. This is part of the platform that we are providing for Jennifer to be able to bring awareness about mental health. This is a real issue. If you're thinking about to study anything in life later on and you have, a great brain, think about psychiatry or psychology. We need Christian psychiatrists and we need Christian psychologists to work with our population. So, what would you like, Jennifer, Bradley's legacy to be?
He, as I said in the video, just had recently become a pastor. And he had been preaching all of his life. His mother prayed Hannah's prayer to devote her son back to him, and he did. And God used him in a powerful way. My husband's ministry was about action. So when he started at our church, all of his sermons were about how to take action, how to be involved, that you are not a seat warmer, you are not a spectator, you don't get to sit back and watch as people minister, you are ministers. And so he wanted to empower everybody to take on their own ministry in whatever way that is, and to go out there to minister to others who don't know about Christ, but also within your own churches, to minister to each other, breaking down those boundaries and those cliques and things that we get ourselves caught up in. And so my message, especially for mental health, you don't know what anybody is going through. Amen. You don't know just because of their situation. In fact, as people who don't know, and I explain my story, and I say, my husband was a pastor, they say, oh, aren't they supposed to be calm? Oh, aren't they supposed to help others? And that's the problem, is you can't be a pastor or a doctor or a psychiatrist and struggle with your own mental health. That's not okay. So when we're reaching out with our ministries to others, to always keep in mind, only God knows, and your only job is to love them the way God wants you to love them. That's your only job. You don't have to make any judgments about the person you're ministering to. You don't have to do that. It's taken care of. You just get to love them. And that's it.
So as this weekend progresses, how many of you would like to love on Jennifer and Lena? So please, as you see them, just give them a hug, give them a high five, a pat on the back, and tell them, I love you, we are supporting you, and keep praying for them. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And we're going to continue praying and supporting you as the years go by.